What is up, everyone? Flammulated here, and I want to welcome you to the first episode of the Dank, Autoflower, Ruderalis Enthusiast podcast. There's no true set plan for this podcast yet, but when we met, we just really hit it off, the three of us. We all knew each other individually and been chatting for a long time, but it wasn't until we got the three of us on the same call, and after several hours, and I'm like, I think we've got something here, and everyone agreed. So grab something to blaze up, sit back, kick back, and enjoy the show. Peace.
We are meeting for the second time. We had a wee bother last week. We're going to see how this one goes as well. We had plenty of laughs the last time, and a lot of it was self-depreciating, if I remember right. And which is what I like about, I think, gardeners especially, is with so much failure, you get a kind of sense of humour about it, like a wicked sense of humour.
Keeps you grounded, that's for sure. Definitely keeps you grounded.
So we'll get straight into it. Let's just talk about how we've all met each other, because Dan, you and I didn't really refer to last week. We talked about this, how we kind of got closer as far as like chatting and trading back and forward. If I remember right, you've done some mycology before,
mm-hmm.
and you and I start chatting more about gourmets and getting going on that. Let's talk about it. On you go. What got you want to grow more of your own mushrooms? Like, for example, are you just a flavour hound? Do you like the growing of it, the knowledge? Like, what has it got you into doing that?
It's the knowledge. It's a new tool in the belt, and it's a challenge too. It's meticulous. My brain really feeds off of that. I'm very ADHD. We were talking about that, before we got on here, and the whole aspect of the mycology thing really fascinates me. And I'm already a forager. I have foraged for morels for years before I moved to the Northwest. And then once I moved to the Northwest, it is a wonderland, literally a fungal activity. And it just progressed from there. And then, of course, this chanterelle season, it was wild. They were so prolific this past season, the chanterelles were, that I literally could take my lunch break, walk in the park that's across the street from me, and grab a pound, come back and cook them with the fresh salmon we were catching this run. I mean, we had a phenomenal summer with all that. But that's really where, it sparked my interest. Is like one thing led to another. Been with a couple 4As out here, which was fun. A couple mycology groups. Shout out to Dan. He showed me the wilderness here where I could locate morels. And I went back a couple seasons. What's that?
That's a good friend.
Well, and that was his point. Like, he's wanting to share the knowledge, and he took us to the side of the state, which is known for the morels. You can find them over here. They're more landscape or impromptu morels. But like traditional forest-grown morels, you have to get on the eastern side of the state. So it just kind of lit a fire under my butt. And then we had lockdown, and I needed something else to do besides just grow pot. So I started, diving into the mycology world.
Nice, mate. Nice. Yeah. Lockdown definitely kicked us up a few notches as what are we going to grow here. I took a rack from screen printing, so I had different layers underneath, and I would have fermenting things on top, like kombucha, peppers. I had a dehydrator there, and then I had microgreens underneath with like strip lights, and I covered it all in whatever it's Reflectex roll barrier, and I called it like my germination, fermentation, hydration station. I think there's another one in there too. But yeah, lockdown especially, my wife will talk about when we do presentations at gardening clubs and we talk about our mushrooms. She talked about coming home one day from work. She worked in a vet's clinic at the time, and she found me making agar plates with dog food and something else, and she was just like, all right, we got to get you outside. This is wild. Like, what is going on right now? It's absolutely great.
And that's fun to make your own. That's the big aspect for me. It was like, I learned at a 10,000 foot level. I was introduced to somebody who gave me like a starter kit where I had to take it and go from the grain out to substrate. to teach yourself a basic level of the cleanliness of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from there I was guided, was given good resources on from YouTube. And if you follow the gentleman's guide, like learning to pour your own agar and make your own, that's probably my favorite part.
Oh, you like that?
Is making it. I do. For some reason, I do, because it's like the beginning. It's like it's a building block for starting life. Like you can take that agar and you can literally go into your grocery store, rehydrate a mushroom that you like, and potentially, not every time, clone that mycelium right onto that agar, and then take it from there onto whatever you want next. And that's fascinating to me.
And it's so fun how just the tiniest amount.
It doesn't take much.
It can be plenty. And it changes from different. I almost said cultivar there, but I don't know what the correct word is right now.
I mean, that was something I didn't want to dive into the argument the other day, but somebody said it was an F4. And I understand what they're getting at. It was probably the fourth time they cloned it, but we don't call
T4,
clones
I believe is what that's called.
Or correct,
T4.
right? And so there is some terminology. I was just getting to the point where it's like there is some terminology I think that's cross-pollinated between the two worlds. That was not intentional. I swear to God.
Putting that there, oh boy.
yeah, it was not intentional.
But yeah, it's great. We're going to get on to. I want to go into how Daz and I met, but it is great how we have all these different interests that we find each other like through Autoflowers. And then it's like, oh, we actually have that in common. Or the amount of times Dan and I'm like, oh, Daz, I'm watching this. It's like, oh, me and my brother used to watch that growing up. And there's been so many instances of that. Even the time when I posted a picture of the little 3D printed buckets I made. I made these 3D printed buckets with everyone's logos from the big giveaway from Shout Out to Stone Ninja. The big giveaway that changed my life. And so as I wrote thank you letters and sent these out as Christmas gifts. And then Daz posted his online, and it was next to a Starship Enterprises Next Generation's shuttle, right?
Mm-hmm.
A decoration you've got in your tree. And mine was right by a Millennium Falcon one. And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking nuts. But yeah, I found Daz from running his stuff. Fletch, shout out to Fletch for saying, oh, you need to check your DMs. There's this guy who's like tagging in your stuff. And we started chatting a bit. And lots of like communications back and forward over the last few years, and lots of support. I have to say too, Daz, appreciate you, mate. And we, I'd sent a letter because running Mango Sunrise, which was one of the first strains I ran of yours, had such an effect on my ADHD that I could not believe that I grew this and that it's doing such wonderful things for me. I hadn't really experienced that much. Other than the rare occasion I'd get a bag of Jack Herrera from somebody back when. It really had this like profound effect. You ended up sending me a bunch more gear out of nowhere one time, and I can't remember now if you'd had the letter I'd sent you or not at that point. But it was just that kind of like, oh, we are the same thing I feel with Dan, like we're meant to be mates, right? We have so many same kind of interests and things. But going out to meet Daz in Maine, you were just talking about amazing food. That seafood we went out for was another level.
Yeah, that was amazing. I forget the name of the spot. Do you remember?
Now, one of the places we were looking at, I think, was called Luke's, Luke. That might have been the spot.
Okay, it might be. It sounds familiar, but yeah.
I think Maddie said it like flooded not long after that.
Yeah, it was up to their deck pretty much. So yeah,
where is that at up there?
Right downtown Portland, right in the city on the water.
Okay, yeah, no, the place I want to say that I stopped at, the restaurant on the water, was in Bath. I want to say that was in Bath, so never mind, it was a different place. But when you said deck, I was just curious if it happened to be the same restaurant, because I found some fire fish and chips there. So when I was in Maine.
It was phenomenal. Bullseye, shout out to Bullseye. He'd be, oh, you're gonna love Maine. It's got so much good food, because like I'm a bit of enjoy my food. I've been very fortunate to eat at really nice places without paying for it as well, which is even better. But the lobster roll was out of this world. Yeah. The moules marinara, the mussels I had to start was like, holy shit, I feel like I'm in France. And it turns out two of the owners, the chefs, were French.
Mm-hmm.
And they came and checked in on us, and I was like, boy, I feel like I'm back in Brittany, like 10 years old, stealing mussels off my dad's plate. Like, you get this massive pile of mussels, wouldn't want to share it with me and my brothers, and we'd be like sneaking them, stealing some pommes and all that kind of shit, you know? It was absolutely phenomenal food out there. It was really, really good.
Yeah, it was good to have an excuse to go out and try that out. I'd never been there before, but it was definitely well worth it. You don't have to come back so we can go again.
Oh, you'd have to twist my arm for that one, I think. That'd be
no worries.
It was a very chill night, Dan. I got to see through Daz's seed collection, and it was funny because we were just kicking it in the kitchen, just any regular kitchen, and he'd go away and he'd bring down a couple totes. And I'm like, wow. I said, oh yeah, just hold on a wee minute, and he'd go away. Totes, and I was like, holy shit! He's like, well, that's just the photo period stuff. Let me go get the autoflower. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think we made it through about a quarter of the stuff, and I could just see the interest drain from his face. I was like, all right, this is too many seeds, and I don't know what's going on.
It becomes overload.
Yeah, you thought that. So we both got really quiet, and in my head, I'm going, all right, and you've had a great day. You're overstaying your welcome. It's time to boogie. So I pretty much said this, right? And then Dad's like, oh, no, sorry. I'm just fucking wrecked off that Judy gemstone you brought.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely
a couple joints there. I was definitely feeling it that time. So.
Absolutely ripped. It was really cool because we'd driven around and you'd picked up a piff cup.
Yeah.
We got to smoke some like true piff, and it absolutely just smells like old church books, old hymn books, Bibles. Even the little buds themselves were just so like different, elongated more than I'd seen in a lot of cannabis. It was like a really interesting puff, and definitely like I shouldn't have smoked this at night once I got back to the hotel.
Yeah, that's so funny. I completely forgot you were with me when I went to grab that, and then the last time we hopped on the call, I had lost that cut recently, and I just gone back down and picked it up again. So that's nice. So funny. We were kind of together both times.
Was it the same dude?
Yeah, Lobster Fan Farms. He's the man.
He just added me today on Instagram, actually. Yeah, that was a really cool smoke. It was one of those ones where like, fuck, I'll not forget this smoke. Because I'd heard so much about piff as well. You know, you hear these like stories, and then to actually get some from someone who's like, this is the grower to get it from. Yeah. With you, it was really fucking dope. The other thing that cracks me up about that time, we were kicking it in the kitchen, and I was looking through, and I was finding baggies, and the baggies were like very, very faint Sharpie at this point, and it said Tyrone Stomper F1, right? And then I can't remember if it was half an hour before or after, but we'd been in the basement. Daz was showing me around and the packaging and stuff, and then I'm holding in my hand like the fancy packaging, like Tyrone Stomper F7, and I was like, holy fuck, like what? And as far as like, what do I want to do in this space? And it's like work lines. It was definitely one of those moments where it was like, oh, holy fuck, that is so cool. And because it was a bit of a needle in a haystack to find that one Ziploc, right? There was a lot of Ziplocs in there.
Oh yeah.
From over the years. And some with only like a smattering of seeds left. Like I think that one, for example, had like 5. And then other ones were a bit heavier, right? But it was just such a cool moment of like, holy fuck, like talk about like a story of autoflowers and that, you know, it was really dope.
Yeah, I really want to go through and kind of document all the seeds that I have, like buy one of those camera mounts where the camera's pointing down, you know, it's the same exact depth of field from the frame that you're taking the picture in each time, and kind of go through and like, the dream was kind of to make a coffee table book with all the different stuff when I bought the pack, like kind of what was going through my head, that why I bought the pack, what I wanted to do with it, what I was hoping to find from it, and just kind of document. I've got so many seeds at this point. It's insane. It is. So
especially when someone comes with a story, right? Like that's what's really interesting too, is it's one thing having these like cool seeds or rare seeds, but then sometimes the lengths that we go through to get them is just especially you fellas, right?
And then sometimes they fall into your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's wild sometimes what shows up when you least expect it too. It is, and I have a ton of the seeds too. Like I have an entire refrigerator and freezer, I think at this point. Yeah, it's a side-by-side, and it's all seed. And I mean, included in that cannabis seed is heirloom garden seed too, and stuff. But have an absurd amount of seeds as well. I understand that look you were talking about when you're showing them to people, even though after they've asked and they just kind of stare off in space and they're like, okay, we get it. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, hey, to each their own. It just happens to be our passion. And I like the fact that you want to kind of record it because there is a lot of thought behind it majority of the time. I think most of the time there's thought behind each step of the process, or at least that I take. I still have the original packaging from the very first pack of Autoflowers I ever bought. Nice. I wish I still had the mailer and the t-shirt, but I don't. But I do have the original packaging of the first Autoflowers I purchased.
What was that Autoflower?
It was Purple Rider, which was done by Joint Doctor at the time.
How was it?
First ones. It wasn't bad. None of them were purple. We'll put it that way. Not a single one of them were purple. It was small. And turns out that it was actually Mossy's genetics that were taken up for the purple gem, but the line work wasn't done after the purple was found for them to all produce purple. That pissed me off for my purple hunting days. I bought that. That's honestly what drove my color hunts for a long time. It made me mad. I bought purple. I wanted purple. Everybody had green weed in Alabama. We needed purple weed in Alabama. I didn't get purple weed, so I had to figure it out.
Do you know Stone and Mossy used to work together, right? Or do they share genetics?
I'm not 100% certain, man. I know she shared a lot of her genetics out throughout the years, and there have been a lot of screen names, and there are a lot of screen names that are the same person but different avatars, and it's hard to 14 years of AFN. It's hard to keep track of all that shit. Not to mention the IC Mag shit previous to AFN and the Roll It Up, and the forums before that became along. So there's a couple decades of history there, but there's potential.
Is Mossy still active on AFN?
She sure is.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to step back by and check that place out. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been fun to pop back around in there and chat up. There's some still old heads in there. Still the same kind of vibe. Nice. It's just a bunch of people in there wanting to grow and stuff. There's a lot of love for your stuff in there. There's a lot of love for my stuff in there, which is nice to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely the home base back in the day. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about how we all met. I mean, that's how we met. It was initially on forums years ago. There was something I was going to ask you. I wrote it down earlier while we were talking about all this, about the meeting. Oh, yeah. I remember how I broke the ice with you, because you, for a long time, were pretty cloak and dagger. You really, really were. And I understand why. I mean, I was like that in the South. It's hard to get. I still get creeped out, even though I bought a little ounce of weed from the store and a cop follows me. I can't get rid of it. I've tried. Don't know why. Anyway, you posted a picture with you and the dog, and you were in Cooper's Rock. You were in Cooper's Rock, and I was like, you're in Cooper's Rock National Forest, and you DM'd me. You're like, how? And then it just, like, wait a minute. And I grew up running those woods. Like, it's one of those things that just is forever fixated in here. And I think that's what kind of just kicked it off. And we found out that we grew up relatively damn close to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good old West Virginia, man. It's so beautiful out there. It's just, if you're not in with the good old boys and you get on the wrong side of the wrong people, it's no fun. So
quickly.
Yeah.
Quick. And it's funny. People joke about that and make fun about it and how hard, but it's really true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm born and raised there. You hung out there for whatever amount of time that you were there, but it's very true. And I mean, I saw it with people who we were friends with for years on a dime. Like, if something that they don't agree with, it's done. It's over. You're dead to them. It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, and it's not something to really brag about. It's just, it's a different culture. It legitimately is different. Alabama is the same way. There's some stuff down there that was different than anywhere else I've lived. That's for sure.
Family feud mentality is just ingrained in those parts,
dude. And to the core, and hold grudges like I've never seen people hold grudges before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was
great with them.
I was an outsider, so I was fighting an uphill battle there, trying to hang out.
Yeah.
It's all good. On to better and brighter things.
I was gonna say you're on to greener pastures now. I'm sure. I mean, if you notice, I'm not there either. I mean, do I miss it? Yeah. Do I know I could be comfortable back there and be fine? Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just the job market. The legal weed market's just like it is anywhere else there. Large corporations came in. State officials already had who they wanted lined up. Getting certified and getting any kind of license there was a fucking joke.
Has that happened in West Virginia? They have legal weed now? No shit.
They got medical. They've got medical now.
Okay.
They got dispensaries. There's 2 or 3 in my hometown, which is wild.
Yeah.
I go back every year to do some trout fishing, see some friends. It's just kind of my thing. And they've got medical there. The flower's decent. It's getting better from what I've seen. Lots of West Coast hype cuts, though. All the cookies you could want.
Yeah.
All of it.
Now that Virginia's opened up, I don't know. I wouldn't mind moving down to Virginia, man. That's one of my favorite states. It's beautiful down there. There's good people. It's just, I don't know. That seems like the land of opportunity right now. But I'm pretty well entrenched here in Maine, so who knows? That's a pipe dream, but maybe someday.
Oh, I feel you, dude. And that's the thing here in Washington. There's some things that are shifting here on the political side, and it's terrifying to me. And I'm just being honest. I don't like what some of the laws they're passing on multiple different things. I'm not trying to get into politics, but it's just not comfortable for me that it's just we're talking about that. And yeah, my dream too is just like I'm looking. I don't know where yet. Virginia though is nice. Virginia is really, really nice. You have beach options there, kind of like here. That's the one thing that's a motherfucker about this. Is this place is beautiful on this side of the Cascades. I've never seen anything like this. I've lived this is number 6, I think, state. And it's just on a whole other level.
Yeah, America's geography is just stunning out of this world. And as a outsider, you're always going to take the piss that like nobody's got a passport, right? But then you actually come here and you spend time here and you see how varied it is, and you're like, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, yeah, would I like to see more like cultural shifts? Like, yeah, but just geographically, like I remember Utah. We couldn't believe after the ski season we went down to Moab and you're at these like red rocks, you're in canyon lands and it's all orange and you're like, how is this 4 hours away and this is so different? Like where I'm from in Scotland, 4 hours away is England, and like who wants to go there, right? So,
well, that's like here, dude. So you'll be here in Washington where I'm at. I'm 300 feet above sea level. I'm real close to the sound to the Pacific Ocean. I'm not far from it at all. You drive 4, maybe 5 hours. High desert. Dry. Hot. Climate's completely different. It is. And you're still the same state. You're still the same state.
Yeah.
Like my in-laws live north central Washington. They're 9 hours from here. You could drive through West Virginia into Tennessee in that time frame.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's
passing
like
through
Kentucky
too.
Down to the south of England, you'd hit the water by 9 hours. And it's a fucking long drive. It's just unreal. And I did I've done some like longer trips for ski trips and fishing trips and all that. But I much prefer just taking the rod out and the river down the street from us or up into the forests rather than heading up to. I mean, Wyoming had some absolute tanks, some huge fish on the Green River. But it's like I don't want to be driving that long. I'm not a fan being in the car.
This past summer, we went down to Yakult, Washington. It's near Cougar and Mount St. Helens for people's reference. And we did some camping, and we got on this private stream with permission. We were on their property camping. And I got into some native rainbows for the first time in a long time, completely accidentally. We're out there showing the boys, how to catch crawdads, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got a rod and reel. I know there's night crawlers around here. Sure as shit. Like I couldn't believe these small rainbows. A couple of days supposed to run that river. Fun little surprise. You don't get nothing like that. Yeah.
Here, Dan, check your mic, mate. So I know you went all muffled there at the end of your story.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That could have been me too. I'm getting caught in mouth like crazy. So there's that.
What you puffing on right now?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
What jar do I have? Shit. Permanent Chimera. So it's a permanent marker outcross. And Kimmy. Whew, it's good.
Nice. And
It's
that can
really
be
nice.
pretty popular. I think quite a few folk hash with it as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the permanent marker's good, and the Chimera, or however you pronounce it, Chimera, by itself is good. But this hybrid, um, yeah, I like it a
Nice.
lot. My tolerance is a little higher these days, and because I quit drinking, and it's not
Good for you, by
supplementing
the
it.
way,
It's
mate.
just what's that?
I said, good for you, knocking the drinking on the head.
Yeah,
Oh, dude,
congrats.
appreciate it. No, it feels great. Like, it's honest to God the best decision I ever made. It's been over a year now, but with that gone, I was using alcohol a lot for ADHD self medication too. You know, it calms and slows things down. But I have started to shift more towards different types of looking for a better terpene profile, and I'm finding out these chem ones tend to calm things down for me again, which is nice. So finding this, and I'd like to find a real decent cut of that permanent marker, but nobody lets go of that shit when they have a good one. And most of the guys in the farms that I've known out here have either moved on or the market has taken their legs completely out from underneath of them.
Right. So you're saying you're using it for ADD? Is that what you said?
ADHD.
So you prefer something? So let me ask this: when you have like a really racy sativa, does that like calm your brain down? Does that work? Is that how it works for you? That's how it works for me. So I'm always interested when people say they use it for that. Like, how do you use it? What do you do?
I use it when I can find a decent indica that'll do that. Most of it's hybridized these days. You really don't get that effect. And due to tolerance.
This is my point. So you prefer having like a broadleaf indica to like calm you down, whereas I find if I hit a like sativa narrowleaf, it's like almost like what I imagine taking Ritalins like. That's how it works for me. Is like it puts everything in the line, focuses, calms the noise down. So I'm always interested in hearing folk doing it the other way and it working for them.
But it's the broadleaf. I need the sedation. So I'm constantly racing. I have firing thoughts. Like while we're having this conversation, I'm sidebarring in my brain. Something else I've learned about ADHD too. No, seriously. Something else I learned about ADHD too is like internal dialogue. That shit goes on like a motherfucker. You know, but I can maintain and know what's going on. I've been multitasking my entire life like this. Just as an adult, I'm finally figuring out what it all is. You know, which is, you know, it's entertainment at this point. And the indicas do help better for me than the sativas. But it's something, like I said, there must be something with the chem side that helps even more.
See, I find with broadleaf, for sleep, for example, because I'm a terrible sleeper, right? Like last night, I think I woke up about 2 and I didn't get back to sleep again until like 7 or something. I was just laying in fucking bed, like trying to fucking fall asleep. And in pain, like a lot too, it didn't help. But if I consume like broadleaf during the day, it doesn't demotivate me, right? Like I still always I get my stuff done, but I'm very like I'm kind of like the difference between like a pedigree dog who's all like woof, and like a streetwise dog like Eddie Izzard talks about this, and like oh yeah, like fucking woof, like when on the sativas, but the broadleaf just makes me a wee bit like fucking my memory gets even worse, which is like ridiculous. It's already so bad. Like where did I put that? Oh, it's right where I fucking left it. Right.
It adds molasses for me, so it slows the thought processes down, so I'm not racing and trying to fire in so many directions. It gives me the focus to be able to take 6 and 7 tasks and pick out of those 6 and 7 tasks what the priorities are, take care of those priorities, and then divulge into what else later. So it kind of gives that path for me.
I find sometimes with microdosing, and then I did a kratom experiment recently, which also had a bunch of like ginseng teas in it. It was this like shot that's made by, I can't remember the company, but it's these 2 stoner scientists that were sharing it on LinkedIn of all places, and I signed up for the free trial. Both of them I've noticed like it's almost like the wee voice that I imagine normal people have to say, make sure you do this, make sure you do that goes off. It's a bit louder for me, where it's like, hey, go check your planner and see what you've got to do for today. Like, that's a lot louder. And then like the constant, I say to my wife, it's just kind of like constant music. If there's something I've heard, it's fucking like Doce has been in my fucking brain for like weeks now. And so it's great to see her win the Grammy. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get fucking left alone and maybe something else will fill my head for a while. But it's certainly on the crap.
I got one I'll send you that'll get stuck in your head for a while.
Oh, God.
If you got a brain like that, yeah, it'll get stuck. I'll help you clean your head out. I got one like that's been stuck in my head for the last fucking week.
It's like my mum would always say, how can you remember all these rap lyrics, but you can't remember your logarithms or this or that? And I'm like, it doesn't interest me. When it's like, if you want to hear some old man Jigga Man from back in the day, like I can rip it off. Like,
yeah, same way. My dad would be shocked. He's like, how do you remember the lyrics for these songs so quickly? It's like, it interests me. I like it. And then I get on, when I find new music, I want to know everything about it. Like if I find something that literally makes me turn and grab my phone and say, who is this? Because I could tell it's new. It's not somebody I've heard before. It's decent. And it's grabbed my attention. And then I'll go down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Find all the old albums and what led up to where they're at now and the whole sound evolution.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You met Locke, didn't you?
What's up?
You met the Locks recently, did you not?
Yeah, that was fun. I went to a concert, and Lobster Fam Farms was actually there, so I met him afterwards, and I tried to get the set list off the stage from their manager. I was like, "Can I buy that from you?" He was like, "No, can't give that out. People will post it up online, and then it'll ruin the rest of it's their 30th anniversary tour." And that was like back in high school. It was the Locks and G Unit and Dipset were like my go-to playlist. So to be able to see them,
say G Unit.
Yeah, and Dipset and the Locks were like the holy grail as far as rap and hip hop stuff and my years at high school. But anyway, one of the janitors had the set lists and was like giving them out to people, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta go get one. So it was all 4 pages taped together that he ripped up off the floor in one like cohesive unit. So I went and I took it and I got it framed and gave it to Lobster Fam Farms just as like a memory of this time together. Got a little plaque
nice.
Up the Locks 30th anniversary.
Dude.
Yeah, it's got like their shoe prints and stuff on it. I was like, leave it rugged a little bit. Like I wanted to really feel like the concert was, because it was a hell of a show. Got rowdy
That's
in there
awesome.
pretty quick. Yeah, it was fun.
Size 7 Timberlands.
Yeah, something like that.
New York Timbs, man. New York rap was always my kind of like thing growing up. I definitely leaned that way more than the kind of West Coast. I still enjoy things from out there, but the kind of more gritty stuff kind of more aligned with Scottish kind of living. I think a lot of time, even though I lived a very privileged life, there's just something about the East Coast. And when I first came to the States was in New York, and like buying a Hot 97 mixtape off a guy at a trash bag. Not on Manhattan somewhere, I can't remember where. It was just like I was having the true like, oh, this is what I wanted to like come to New York and check all this shit out.
It's authentic.
Man, I played that CD to death, and it had hits that didn't come, like songs that didn't come out, especially didn't come out in the UK.
I had a very similar experience. Like once I got my license, started driving up to New York on weekends and stuff, and I would go and get the mixtapes that weren't available down where I was, and remember buying weed off the street, and I had this girl with me, and I was like, here, some kid just off the stoop hollered. He was like, you guys looking for some bud? I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So he sold it to me. It just smelled fucking phenomenal. So I passed it back to her to put in her purse. And then a couple blocks later, I was like, oh, do you have that bag of weed? She was like, what bag of weed? I was like, that sack I gave you. She's like, I thought that was trash. I threw that out. I was like, oh my God. So, going in New York City, trying to like figure out which trash can she threw it in. This is like 2003, 2004, something like that. Just completely degenerate. But anyway, somebody else hollered at us and was like, oh, you need some bud? I was like, fuck yeah. So even back then, it was like you could still get bud, and this shit was phenomenal. I remember having it double bagged in my pocket and being able to smell it like through all that. It was so good.
Just wreck a room you walk into. Like you couldn't walk into a room. And I didn't get mine from New York. My experience wasn't like that. I had a little bit of a different experience being in West Virginia. I wasn't, we were mobile, but we had Pittsburgh was the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh flower was pretty decent. But I will never forget. I worked for a gas station chain, and there was this young man that used to come in all the time, and he just smelled right often. You know what I mean? Like just often. And I was low key about it, and this dude ended up getting. I used to get some of the best flour in Morgantown from this gentleman, and I will never forget. And this is going to tie this all in for this one. Had a good relationship for him several years. He went on his way. I went on my way. We moved. I come back a couple years later. I'm living in Tennessee at the time. We go to Cooper's Rocks with my roommates that I brought to West Virginia to walk through the woods and enjoy a joint. And oh boy, was there too. I hadn't seen him in years. I couldn't believe it. I could call my homie Cody from Louisiana and he'd verify the story, but it was the wildest shit ever to run into him in the woods. But it made sense. I mean, he was out there doing the same fucking thing. So we all got to hang out one last time. That was the last time I ever saw that guy. And he had a young lady that he had met in Mexico that he had told me about that he swore up and down he was going to marry. And he had married and moved to Mexico was the last I heard. So, yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that guy. But
I wonder about some of the people that I know in West Virginia too. There, in Morgantown specifically, there was one little head shop that I met a couple people at, and yeah, I'm all these years later. I wonder what they're doing.
Was it Coolridge or the Den?
The Den, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the Den was the spot. Yeah, Den was a little bit more heavier. You had to, put your name and address on the book when you bought a pipe and shit like that.
Yeah, I don't think I ever actually bought anything from them. I think I'd just go in, look
fair enough.
Meet people, and yeah.
About it. Oh yeah, I had to get a couple pieces over the years, but yeah, that's hysterical. I don't think it's there anymore. Last time I was in town, it may be, but it's definitely not what it was.
I did buy a piece from one of the employees there, but that was like personal. It wasn't through the store or anything. But
right,
yeah, I missed that town for sure. It was good times.
Good little town.
Yeah, some bad times.
What's that?
I said, and some bad times too, but the good times.
Yeah, majority of good times, but there were definitely some bad times. A few nights I was scared. So it's crazy.
That's your story there about me finding that guy in the woods. I just love that about this plant, that it just has these wonderful connections and like things where I'm like trying not to get too wrapped up in the romanticism about it. I'm like, I can't otherwise explain this story. Like, this is so intrinsically linked in every part of my daily life and things. It's like, that's how that's happened. Cannabis was the catalyst, or whatever you want to call it, the common denominator. And like so many of like things that's just like meant a lot or done me good or whatever, I went on a trip to California to meet one of my good smoking mates from my hometown. And he was there with his family. And we were out there for 3 or 4 days, and I flew into Fresno, and they didn't have any rec weed in Fresno. I started calling around trying to find out, couldn't even give recommendations. So I found, I drove way out, and there was a thing called Westlake or Fish Lake or something like that, and the dispo didn't even look like it was open. It was completely derelict looking from outside. And you go in, waiting room, go to the next thing, and they only had 3 strains, 3 types of gummies or 3 edibles and 3 carts kind of thing. It was very, very basic, but all I needed anyway. And it was an hour and a half, I think, one way out of my way. And I was hungry, so I went out and found an Albertsons. I was in the parking lot eating this sandwich, and I look at the street sign. It says Sequoia Avenue, and the next one's 3 Kings Parkway. I'm like, oh wait, how close am I to Sequoia National Park? And I was at the fucking foot of it. Completely the wrong direction. So I was like, fuck yeah. So I went up. I couldn't get into my Airbnb anyway. So I was just going around there too. And I saw the General Sherman, the massive fucking tree and all that. And just having a lovely smoke to myself, and had the gummy that melted in the car boot in the trunk. So I was licking that, get off it. But it was again, had it not been for me driving completely out of town just to go pick up some herb for the weekend for everyone, that awesome experience wouldn't have happened. It's really great. Although I didn't get around folk in the woods.
That's what I love about it too. We were talking about it. The cup was like that down in Oregon. It's just, there's a vibe that is hard to describe unless you're there. But I think a lot of people can get an understanding if you go to a football game of your favorite team. Everybody's there for the same reason, having a good time. I mean, it's the same thing. We just found it through a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do like it.
it's very similar to that, like a concert or any big outing with people that are all of the same mindset with something similar that they have a passion for. I don't know, you just feel it. It's just a different experience.
It's
Indeed.
a great uniter as well. Some of the events here in Ohio, for the most part that I've attended anyway, have been really, really good. I've got another one on Saturday actually. That'll be my first one as Alba Automatic, so that'll be fun.
That's fun. That's a good time.
But it's so cool just to see so many different people. Like the one that I met Stone Ninja at last summer was like quite out of the way for most people in Ohio. But it was Papermaker Genetics hometown, and so they were like bringing the big party back, and it was huge. It was about 700 odd people, indoors and out, and it just had all walks of life. It was really fucking cool, and everyone was just like celebrating the plant. There wasn't one bit of trouble. But if you to go to alcohol, like if that had been in the mix, it would have been a different story. Like always is, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just another like example where I was like, we need to. As much as I don't want to invite politicians and all that, because I don't trust them as far as I can throw any of them, that's the kind of things we should be inviting people to be like, you're going to be out your comfort zone. Like my 40th birthday party, I had like a speech when it was after my birthday cake getting cut. I was like, thank you so much for coming. I know this is out your comfort zone for a lot of you coming to this, because it was like family, and the invitation was me as a 5-year-old with like weed leaves all around the background and like pink lights.
You're only 40 once, man. Fuck it. I was the same way.
I'm going to be out more there with this. If there are things that make you uncomfortable, like please just ask and talk to me about it, and I'll tell you my reasoning behind this. And it's just finding that fine line between like being too preachy on the soapbox, which I can absolutely do, and gatekeeping, because I think there has to be a bit of that to like steer things and keep them in the right direction. But yeah, just normalizing it. Normalizing is like a huge part of what I want to do.
Well, the only way to do it is to be normal about it. I mean, just I mean, if it is part of your life, it is part of your life. But yeah, I mean, there is still a stigma though too, man. I mean, this state has been one of the longest running legal states of some form of fashion, and you still get stigma around here from it. You still see problems with it. Stores aren't allowed in certain towns still, and it's still discriminating against here too. So it's not just and it's a bummer. It's a bummer for Washington being such a senior in its role of the legal cannabis market, and I use that term lightly. And I mean by lightly because we don't even really know what it is still. Yeah. But anyway, and we don't have events here. Like the laws have made it so it's like here. It's just like everything else in Washington. Here it is. But you can only do it how we say so. Yeah. Our fish and game regulations is the same way, sadly. We have all this beautiful recreation, and to be able to take my son fishing and making sure that we're legal is tough. And it's not because we're trying to beat the rules or not. It's just tough to navigate because there's so many rules, and that's why we don't have events here, because when they try to have them, there are so many rules. So they just stay the fuck out of Washington. And the largest one that I've ever been to was in Washington, D.C. Wiz Khalifa played that weekend. And 260,000 people. Mm-hmm. Mike from DC Seed Exchange,
National Cannabis Festival.
National Cannabis Festival, thank you. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. National Cannabis Festival. And it's not because of the weed, it was just a weird name. Trust me. But yeah, that was a huge amount of people. And the walks of life that you were talking about a moment ago. The wildest thing was having somebody walk back up to me while we were retailing seed. Saw Anvil on the table, reached into his backpack, and handed me a flower of Anvil that he had grown himself. That's awesome. That is wild. I'll never forget that. He's like, wait a minute. I'm like, yeah, that's my gear. And he was like, wow, that to me, that felt great. That felt pretty damn cool. So, you getting out there, and you were just talking a moment ago about, going out there as Alba automatics. It's exciting. It's the first time. And moments like that make it that much more exciting, and being around the people and sharing that love. It's fun. It's an experience.
It's I'm really looking forward to, like, I think I said just before we started, I just put my new video up teaching folk how to grow in super soil. And it'll be good now that I can be in person and say, like, here, actually, I'm going to give away some of my super soil mix as well with purchases this weekend. So say, here, chuck this. I've got the instructions on it. Put that in your pot. Go to this on YouTube. Watch it, and you should be able to grow autoflowers. See you in 4 months.
What's your base in that? What is your base media in that super soil? Are you offering just a nutrient pack, or does it have like a soilless medium in it too?
No. So this is just like the actual like super soil amendment blend.
So just the amendment blend. Got it.
Yeah. So I use Bio 365. All you and Jinxproof got me into that, and then the rep out this way, Vanessa, is just a really cool person, and wants to see our overall farm just do well, with our microgreens and everything too. So
that's soil special. I'm not gonna lie. I've grown.
My mother-in-law brought the trailer. That one of the grow stores out here, Indoor Gardens, they'll do spring and fall at their different locations events, and it's got the different vendors. And some of them will do like huge deals where it's like 50% off on soil. So I'm just like, I go down. Mother-in-law brought the trailer. And we just stocked it up and took it back up the road. And it's lasting. I'm just about out now, unfortunately. I'm like, what?
Recycle it. I'm telling you, I'm on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had a 85 bag pallet sent to me 4 years ago. 4 years ago. I just finished using a majority of it to situate these last beds.
Nice.
It goes a long way, and it turns over a recharge. That's the key. That is what I think is the difference that I haven't talked about the most. Is it's really good out of the bag and to start with.
Mm-hmm.
It promotes some of the wildest fine hair root growth that I've ever seen personally in soil, especially in a cloth bag. But it also has the ability to recuperate and recharge without massive deterioration in the product. And with peat being a non-renewable resource in the way that it's mined, that's something to really look into. I mean, they do use an ethical sourcing and things of that nature. They're very good about how they get their product. But as an end user that's been using it for the last 4 years, that's phenomenal for a product to not wash, just to turn back into a pile of perlite over time.
Yeah.
I gotta try that stuff sometime. You both rave about it. I've seen a lot of good things about it. Definitely need to. But
I'm gonna tell you right now, I have never used anything else since. I had to grab some Sunshine number 4 the other day because it's all I could find locally, because nobody has Bio 365 in stock right now. It's sold out.
Are you amending it when you use it as well? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's got enough nutrients to get you out of 3 to 4 days of seed cracking. The green start mix has no it has some bioavailability. That's no nutritional value for seedlings. You got to feed them by day 2 with the smoke in it. I've seen it. I've done that multiple times and just recently. But yeah, dude, I amend it with 2, maybe 3 amendments. And I mean, if I could pick up the camera and show you, it's just been water only in here with some of that, the corn steep powder.
Is it pretty fluffy? Nice light, yeah.
It's super light. It's really, that's what I was talking about, that fine. Damn it. I think I took all the root balls out too when I move things around, or I'd show you. So when I get these things, I let them dry back so I can pull them out of the bags easier. Mm-hmm. But when they do dry back, it is a solid mass from end to end, top to bottom. Like the taproot is only getting this big when I pull it apart in a 3-gallon pot. Like the main taproot itself gets this big. I know it gets as thick as a carrot.
Right.
But everything else that is produced in that pot through the soil is nothing but fine hair roots. It's wild to see when you tear it apart. First couple of times I thought maybe I was getting some dwarfism or something going on with the line, but no. Different lines across multiple generations have shown, and I've been growing it in 4 years, small fat taproots and just this spider web of roots. It's
Nice.
wild.
Yeah,
Like, and
I've definitely-
it's hard to tear apart.
Yeah, it is. I've definitely noticed with you and the autopots though, I'll stick in some extra. I'll put rice hulls through or
Yeah.
perlite, and then with the microgreens, and I've used a few of the different lines on the microgreens, but more recently I'll do bio all, and just then folk don't have to like give any extra nutrients, and you can get away with microgreens just doing water only. We use Pro Mix, and you can still get away with it, but they do benefit from some extra. But I definitely noticed that, we use the Pro Mix HP, and so it's meant to drain. And seeing the
Yep.
difference between that and then using like any of the Bio 365 products, they hold the moisture way more, and so I have to be really careful not to flood things. There's a difference to it, and so if I could get it at the price point that worked for me for Pro Mix, because we get it from Family Farm and Home, so it's $40 for a 3.8 bale, so it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I used to run Pro Mix. That was my jam for years, up until I found Bio 365. That's all I ever ran was the Pro Mix HP.
They're fresher too. Do you find that too, Dan? That I find that out of all the bags of soil, different brands I've bought over the years from different places, every time I get them,
you know why?
Newer.
No, it's stored inside a warehouse. None of their soil after production or post-production, no matter in their distribution warehouses too, is stored outside. That soil goes from materials outside into their facility. It's bagged, sealed, and then maintained inside facilities until it hits retail or people's farms.
Nice.
And that's also why it doesn't have bugs, and they use beneficial bugs. There's a lot that goes into that soil.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It is expensive, but it's worth it. Like, every bag you open still has moisture. It's fluffy. There's no dry corners. The perlite isn't cracking and busting everywhere. That bag, like, I could go out right now and I have 2 bags of the Bio Start left, and I could go grab them and open them for you. And they're the original bags from 4 years ago, and that soil will be perfectly ready to go. Like,
Nice.
It's not over dry. It's not saturated. Now, I've kept it in a building outside like they would to keep it out of the weather. But yeah, that bag's ready to go. I just cracked the last few bags of the Bio All a couple of weeks back, and it was like I'd bought it a week ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
I picked up a bunch of bales of sphagnum peat moss, whatever it is, for like $1 each from the Family Farm. I got like a dozen of them, but no, they're sitting out in all the weather, just getting absolutely pelted. That's going to be all outdoor peppers, I think.
I did that a couple years back too for my garden back here out. My entire yard was sand, so I just got a bunch of peat and just busted up a bunch of those bales. And after 6 or 7, I'm on year 7 now. We got 6 inches of good bioactivity.
Nice. We had really waterlogged area where we've got an outdoor garden. It's by our high tunnel, and we had to just keep putting biomaterial through it because it slopes off of the road. There's also a culvert from the neighbour's drive. This is really annoying. From the neighbour's driveway, it goes underneath and then dumps onto our property, and so we've had to build up to get it away so it won't come up. But I just applied for another USDA grant to get some free compost. We get this stuff from the zoo. It's full of animal shite and scraps and all the rest, and the soil is wonderful. This year I want to be more focused and do some KNF kind of practices, try and isolate some of the good stuff that comes in it and see what it can do with it. But it's just phenomenal. Our produce was super healthy. It was on an rainbird style irrigation, drip, but the award-winning peppers. If my peppers don't get put in from my pot plants, I didn't used to be able to grow peppers well at all, and I just started treating them more like cannabis, and it has been such smooth sailing since.
Can I interject real quick about peppers and cannabis?
Yeah.
So there's a correlation. I don't know about a correlation, but there's something about peppers and cannabis, because back when LEDs first started hitting the market, I do a little hybridization on peppers as well. I like to play with plants, and I would test my pepper plant, or I would test all this new LED on my pepper tents before I would bring them into my cannabis tents, so I could determine what it was going to do to the environment, because they were pretty similar in behavior. Everybody's all like, "Oh, it's the next tomato plant." It's going to be autos are as easy as growing a tomato plant. But as far as like from what I have found to reaction to light in an artificial environment, pepper plants were the closest thing to them, to autos anyway.
That's funny. Ronan was real big into peppers and growing and doing some hybrids with them as well. That is interesting.
I've got ribbons on the wall from them, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
Like I state faired it. Yeah, just like you. Yeah, that's why I was. That's why I remember your ribbons. Yeah, yeah. That's fun.
Spicy enough. I love peppers.
Oh, dude, I'm the same way. It can't like. I love all of the Kraft hot sauces. Like I like some heat, and it's funny. One of the good things about being over here is the Pacific Island food and some of the other nationalities we have, and we have some access to some like real Thai. And I went to a Thai restaurant that's no longer with us. They retired after COVID and all this. And but I asked for 5-star, and I learned a lesson. Like I have a high tolerance. I have a high tolerance, but I learned Thai hot that day. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. Like it wasn't miserable, but it caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. We're in legitimate playing fields now.
You have a high tolerance, but not a Thai tolerance.
Thai tolerance?
You've got a high tolerance, but not a Thai tolerance.
Yeah, not quite Thai yet, but we're getting there. We're working on it.
Nice.
Capsaicin's so good for you, though. Like capsaicin is so good for your body. Like it's so healthy.
When it hurts, I had a similar experience out here where I'd gone to a couple different Thai places and we get the 5 every time. And I was just like, this just isn't enough. They were like, well, we can go all the way to 10. I was like, what? All right, well, let me get a 7. And they brought it back. And oh my God, it was such a good pain. I was sitting there sweating. I inhaled it before, like I breathed some in.
Oh,
like, oh, this is like pepper spray.
Yeah, like here we go. Like if it aerosols, it's game on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always know you're alive when you're eating spicy food.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's an ADHD thing as well. It's that influx of sensation and all that it causes. I think it's a huge. Like one of the fellas is that Amlet Pepper. He is a local guy, and he set up at our Harvest Festival last year, and he did a hot chip challenge on it live. We had to like sit for 4 or 5 minutes and like consume it all, and it was like insane amounts of Scoville. And he loves growing them too. Like he's a really talented grower. And I just love spicy food. Like the UK, we do a lot of British Indian curries. My dad's like a dab hand at them, especially. And that is one of the things I miss. What do you miss about living in Scotland? Curries. I really miss the curries over there. I'll drive out my way out here. I even met a Gnome at a truck stop recently. And we thought it was a curry house, like an actual restaurant. It was just this old couple fucking rocking it in a trailer.
Oh, yeah. And I bet you that shit was fire too, wasn't it?
Tell you what, flavour was 10 out of 10. The goat, I always get goat. If I can get goat or lamb, a Rogan Josh is my favourite. But way too many, like I know you need bones for flavour, and I like sucking the marrow out in that. But there was way too many, not enough meat. That's the definite like strange difference between the cuisine in both continents. You get way more portions in Indian food in the UK than you do over here in the US, whereas pretty much everything else it's the exact opposite. But yeah, I'm really excited to grow more peppers this year. I'm doing some Fresnos for a hot sauce company out here, and I'm hoping to do some like hot ones and then use my ground cherries as like because he does limited. He'll do like ramps. You've had ramps before, right? Out this way, Dan. It's like the onions that grow wild.
Oh, you don't have to tell me what ramps are, sir. Oh man, dude, I grew up washing myself with them motherfuckers. Man. Like we have ramp festivals where I come from.
Nice.
Like there is nothing better on this planet than fried potatoes and ramps. Fight me, motherfuckers. Or meatballs, homemade meatballs, especially with deer. Like I'm showing my country right now, but like there's nothing better than homemade deer meatballs and ramps or fried potatoes and even like smoked summer sausage. Ramps are good, but anyway, sorry. I have a very like my buddy he hunts them for me every year, dehydrates them and sends them to me so I can use them in my cooking. Like I love it. Yeah. And I hunt them when I go back east. Huh?
I said, so good you can kiss your cousin.
Oh my God. Oh, there's an expression. It's so damn good. You could put it on your head, and your tongue would beat your brains out trying to get to it. Like it's that good.
There was a good old boy I met at one of the farmers markets here, and I brought some ground cherries because I really thought, oh, nobody's doing ground cherries. This is this new thing. And have you guys ever tried ground cherries?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Is that a pepper?
I'm curious if it's.
So ground cherries grow like a small tomatillo, so they have that like paper husk, right?
That's what you
Inside
sent me.
Yes,
That's
I sent it. Yeah.
That's what you sent. Yeah. That's what you sent me. Okay.
So they grow in these wee balls, these wee cherries. There's lots of wee stones in it, and the flavour is like candy flossy pineapple. It is insane that it grows in the Midwest like this, right?
Wow.
And they're prolific. Once you plant them, you will not get rid of them because they are like they'll go to the ground when they're ready. You can't get them all up if you've got a nice loose soil like I do. So
Tomatillos are the same way. I planted tomatillos one time in my garden, and they've been there for 7 years. I don't have to replant them.
Volunteered.
They're
They're
just
great. I hope I can do like if he doesn't do the crossover with it, like I will. I love the lacto ferment. Was just absolutely brilliant, out of this world for the peppers, and it's without doubt one of the easiest fermentations or anything that I've done food wise. I just couldn't believe how easy that was. And I just chucked everything I had. I called it the fuck it bucket, and I just threw everything. Didn't really pay attention to what peppers it were, and some garlic and that salt, and that was it. It's so good, and the umami flavor from it is it's so much more complex. I like doing the vinegar ones as well, but I couldn't get over and how the flavor just kept developing. And I kept the brine. The brine I just pour in food all the time, like just.
Well, it's amazing how those sauces and blends like that out of a garden will they mature. They literally do cure, and they're like that. Like I make cowboy candy every year, so I struggle growing hot varietals. If I grow hot peppers, it has to, and if I want big yields, it's got to be done indoor.
Right.
Otherwise, I have to start them indoor and get them of a variable size, and then get them out. Usually around Mother's Day, and I can get roughly 10 to 12. I could pull 10 to 12 pounds in one pull at the end of the season, and I make cowboy candy with those, which is a candied jalapeno. And after year 2, they get real good. They stay crispy, and that flavor, you'd enjoy them, Daz, if you like they're great on tacos. That's what I think I like them on the most, especially asada.
Dehydrated, or are they in?
Yeah, I'd like to know about this.
So they're cold packed. So what we'll do is I take them and I'll cook them down. You cook them down for about 10 minutes in a syrup, basically, of brown sugar, regular sugar, and vinegar. Strain that liquid off of it, jar them up, throw in some garlic, maybe a clove if you want to get real spicy with it, and then you boil that liquid. I forget how long, to make sure that you kill all the bacteria and everything inside of it. And then you take that and you cold pack it. You pour that hot liquid in each of them, put your mason jar lids on, seal them up, and wait for it to ting. Right. And then we just put that into the cupboard. So it's basically jalapenos that are packed inside this high sugar syrup, and they candy. So they basically become this crispy, spicy candy ring of deliciousness.
My mouth is going nuts right now.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah,
it's still just one of the sugar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's been hard recently, mate. But I made it. So Dan, I gave up processed sugar back in October, and I've had a couple. Thanksgiving, I jumped back in a wee bit. Gave up for the day because I had to have.
It's Thanksgiving. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going to eat pie. I don't give a shit what diet I'm on. I'm going to eat pie.
It's a meringue-based cake, and with whipped cream and fresh fruit, and it's so fucking good. And then Christmas is what really startled me, because my awesome mother-in-law, she bought me a bunch of Sweeties candy from the UK, and so I was like, oh, it's just because I was justifying it in my head, like the effort she went to get this, I should be eating it. Like, no, dude, you're trying to get rid of your gut and get your back healthier. Stay off the sugar. It's not good for you.
It's like anything. It's moderation. Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's
and
none
Christmas.
for me.
Yeah, Thanksgiving it's the pie, Christmas it's chocolate. Those two things I
Then
can't
it's
help myself
February
with.
with Valentine's. Then Easter comes up, and
No,
like excuses
I'm
to
good
try
there.
and get my kid to eat chocolate and stuff at school. I'm just like, listen, this lassie does not need to have sugar in her system. She'll go bonkers. They wonder why they all have these issues in the afternoon because they get like treats at the school. I'm like, stop giving them this stuff then. Like,
My boy's the
it's
same way. He'll come out of school with fucking ring pops. I'm like, where did you get that? Oh, I did good in class. So they're giving you sugar and sending you home. Awesome.
awesome.
You know,
Thanks for that.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've been off. I never really was a sugar hound. I like my chocolate chip cookies. I'm not gonna lie, but like dark chocolate was always my thing. So I mean, there's not much
Dark
sugar in
chocolate.
that. It's actually decent for you. Like that's one thing I know. If I get dark chocolate, nobody else in this house is gonna eat it. I actually can have a snack when I want something. You know?
Yeah. I've got to tell you my dark chocolate story. So I shan't mention names.
Which way is this gonna go, bud?
This is
No.
good. This is good. Non-disclosure agreement in place. When I was acting as a nanny, I was a nanny for a while for these wealthy families.
How
And
many
we were-
lives have you lived, dude?
It's
Like-
insane. I went to the Galapagos with these folks. Like, just I was snorkeling for the first time in my life, right? Snorkeling, and I'm seeing everything you'd see in like a very nice aquarium, right? Big clownfish and goofy big teeth munching on coral, and I was like laughing. They could hear me laughing through my snorkel, and I was like, I'm staying out here for as long as I can milk this. I don't care if I get fired. I will never have an experience like this. I'm going for it. But we were at St. Vincent and the Grenadines at this really nice, I think it was called Pink Sands Resort, and it was so nice that the GM and every member of staff were out raking seaweed every morning because it was seaweed season, but people are paying to not have seaweed, so they're out there taking care of it with tractors, and just ridiculous, right? Well, every day in this gorgeous hotel with like the TV that would come out the roof, and I mean, it's just beautiful. They would put not just like a chocolate in your pill, but a full bar of like local 80-90% cacao chocolate, dark chocolate. Some of them were like with local sea salt. All that. I mean, it was
Oh,
just
stop!
$20.
Now you're getting my mouth watering.
$20 a bar, yeah, easily. My mum loves chocolate, so like I'd always buy coffee when I was going around these places, and the local chocolate. And so none of this family, because they were arses, liked it, right? I had the master key, and part of my job was going around and sweeping to make sure that people hadn't forgotten their phone chargers and this and that. So I'd go around and went, oh, they're not going to have that bar. I'll take that then. And I just fucking started taking the bars. So it worked out, right? So we'd be up at like 7 and then wouldn't get to bed until.
How old were you?
Oh, this was in the last this is probably about 7 years ago. So well in my 30s. Like, well in my 30s.
Stealing candy from a baby.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like, fuck it.
The staff were always cool with us because they'd clock on quickly that we were not with it. We were with them, but we're not the family, right? We were the help, as we were referred to at times. And so I was going out, putting all in my suitcase and closing it. I hadn't said to anybody. And I get back one day, and the staff had of the hotel came in, and housekeeping staff had cleaned the place immaculate. And my bag with all my stuff was completely moved and organised. And I was like, "Fuck! They've seen the chocolate." So I get up the next day and I do my rounds. There's no fresh chocolate. And I'm like, "Fuck! That was my plan out of this chocolate plan." And I did a good amount of bars by this point, right? But I started walking around, and I saw one of them later, and I was like, "Hey, just noticed there was no chocolate in any of the And she was, "Oh, okay, sorry." She went back round, she did the chocolate. And then I come round and I fucking gave it a day though, right? On my plate kind of cool. Went back, took all the chocolate again. And then my roommate, one of my best mates, like he was like, "I fucking know what you're up to." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I saw inside your bag. I know what you're up to." And I was like, "All right, how can I buy your silence?" He's like, "I want half." If I'm giving you half, you have to go get the next round. And to his credit, he did. He went and took one from me. They were never going to eat it. It was no harm. We ended up gifted us a whole bunch of things like bathrobes that I still keep to this day. Because I'm like, I'm never going to have a bougie bathrobe like this. And I sent my wee mammy in Scotland a nice selection of local chocolate. It was it was so good. I was munching. That's how I would get through those trips. We weren't allowed to do anything, and so I would just comfort eat like crazy on those trips. And the chocolate especially was, I mean, a good dent in it before I left.
Do you guys like spicy chocolate? Have you ever gotten into chocolate
Yeah.
with peppers in it?
It's
That's
good.
my-
Dark chocolate, especially
Yeah.
with the chili, I feel like.
Yeah.
I
Well,
fell
see,
in love
that's
with that
like-
flavor as a kid with like the Mexican hot chocolate, having some cinnamon and some pepper in there.
Oh, no, I've not had that.
Oh, it's
Oh,
delicious.
you want to talk about cleaning? Well, yeah, delicious and cleaning out the sinuses.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I do enjoy that. Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't touch on the awesomeness that is Alabrihe. He just sent out, there's a variety of different hot sauces went out, but he sent me one that was mango habanero. And I believe, and I think I'm missing something else too, because I just go to town on it. Like the first few days, that was a lot of it taken away. But I had the last of it with like a pork schnitzel and some of our microgreens on top and a sandwich. And it was so good. And what was nice, because when you said it cleared the sinuses, it had a lovely flavor to it. And then just at the end, it would hit you with that proper like, oh yes, that is a good heat to that. That is a good heat.
Yeah, mango. That's a good one. Anything spicy and mango. Yeah, that's definitely a great combination.
They really figured it out with that one.
Yeah.
That mango. They did that one.
I was regretting not having any like mango sunrise or something at the same time. I was like, oh, that'd be so good to pair it with that. Like I've still never done like a true pairing meal, but I'd definitely like to give that a shot at some point.
Like wine. I've never done that with cannabis. I don't think I've done it with wine, and still, I mean, like I knew I wasn't any. Like it just all tasted the same to me with the wine thing. It's like okay, yeah, it's still seafood.
Have you ever tried pawpaws, Dan? Were pawpaws a thing around your neck of the woods?
Pawpaw? Oh yeah. Dude, we had the Pawpaw State Fair.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yeah, we had the Pawpaw Fair, man. The mud bogs out there were wild. That was a good time.
This year was the first year I tried like large ones. I tried little teeny ones that were I still liked them, but a guy from a gardening club, he hybridizes daylilies. He's thousands of metal plates all around his garden. And then about 4-story high pawpaw trees, and they were just huge, like wee mini footballs that come out, and it was like proper gelatinous, custardy tasting. It was absolutely brilliant. I've tried some jams and things as well, but I feel like that'd be a good pairing thing to use as well for hot sauce. It's like a pawpaw hot sauce.
Yeah, that'd be something unique. It's definitely something that I don't think anybody's really tried. The thing that I'd love to make my own. The problem is like getting a proper fermentation and finding the sweet spot to not blow up your bottles. To stop that fermentation process without losing the flavor and stuff has been the challenge at times. I've seen a few blown up bottles and it creates quite a mess.
I had to repaint the ceiling in Utah twice because of my kombucha escapades.
So yeah, I mean, man, I'm not gonna lie, and kombucha's not been, or salsas have not been the only things on the ceiling too. I still have a mark on the ceiling I haven't painted over from silver thiosulfate. It turned the ceiling purple.
Wow.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It exploded?
No, no. I was cleaning out a syringe and got a little too happy and hit the ceiling with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have low ceilings in the one kitchen. And I mean, I've seen it stain certain things, but for some reason it definitely reacted with the paint that day.
I've got it on my hands a couple times. It'll dye your skin black, that's for sure.
Yeah. Especially high concentration.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I felt like quite the little chemist when I was mixing all that stuff together for the first time.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gloves and eye protection, at least. I mean, I got a magnetic stir, so I can set it and step back, which is nice.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
That makes it a lot easier. Those magnetic stirrers are game changers.
You've been using that for liquid culture at all? I think was it not you?
I haven't stepped out that far yet. I swear to God, if I expand into one more room, I might get stabbed. I have separate, like I've got 1, 2, 3 different areas that I occupy with different hobbies, and if I step into a fourth, because if I get into that realm, I'm gonna want a clean room. I'm not gonna want to work in a sab and still air box anymore. I'm gonna want to flow. Excuse me, flow hood. But yeah, I don't have room for it.
Yeah, my flow hood is like jammed in between the microgreen tent and formerly the mushroom tent. It's now got more. It's got photo period plants in it right now going.
I mean, if I really wanted to, I could come in the grow room here and work in front of my fresh air in because it's a HEPA filter of fresh air
cool.
coming in,
Yeah.
and I could work right in front of it if I
Yeah.
really in a pinch. But I mean, I got this much width, so I could do bin bags or something like that. But
Oh, hey, good work on your isolations and things for not doing it in front of a flow hood. That's good work.
what are the other things? There's two ways I do it: still air box, or over the oven.
And do you have an extractor going?
No. Hold on, my camera's playing tricks again. 1 second. No, you can use the heat of the oven as an upward flow. So it does two things.
Okay.
It's actively sterilizing the air around you, and it's creating upward flow beyond the work environment. It's a quick way.
Yeah, it's cool.
Or it's a short. I mean, you have to be clean with everything else.
Yeah.
But it is a way to squeak by if you need to. That was a cool little trick I learned, and I thought, man, cool. I'm going to get Katam. I'm going to get Katam. I have poured hundreds of plates over the oven, and not one of them. I maybe have had like 5 or 6 that would show some garbage after the cooling process because of condensation or something like that from the lid. But it works fine as long as everything else is clean and you're calm and you're not, breathing and drooling over it like a beast. You'll be okay. That's the key.
I had so much failure from doing mushrooms, like grain to grey, or not some grain to masters mix stuff, especially lion's mane. There was one point I was wearing like a Tyvek suit, masked up on inside a grow tent, and I was just pissing sweat inside.
You sent me a picture of that. I remember that. You're like
I'm so glad to get that fucking flow hood. It's been such a game changer. And then just messing about with it. I come back making just CO2 bags myself. I'm just putting them on top of the lights and letting them just see what they do. And I definitely burnt a Cosmic Queen actually, Daz. I think I had I don't know what's going on. It is a way different color than everything else.
I love those exhale bags. I don't know how much difference they really make, but I've been using those for a few years. And
that's where I got it from. I was like,
CO2.
I'm just doing boiled oysters though, like just ones I can, if I wanted to do for gourmet, I'll probably go plant them outside. That's the plan, is this summer to just put mushroom stuff everywhere. Like, fuck it, I'm not going to do it indoors anymore. It doesn't shift well enough around here for me to put the effort into doing indoor stuff every week when I'm busy as I am during the summer. But yeah, here I just mentioned Cosmic Queen. I want to talk about a drop coming up, Daz. I'm going to completely change the subject. I'm going to just throw you in at the deep end and. So Valentine's Day drop, classic drop for Nightowl.
Valentine's Day drop, I got Sour Bee, Time Machine, Purple Strawberry Popesicle. What else? Vegas Snow and Master Bruce are going to be the 5 new ones that I drop, and then some old goodies as well. And I was thinking about maybe doing some auto regs again since I did those last year, and it's the love holiday, so let people make some love with their plants with some auto regs. But
some Lonely Hearts Club, was it Lonely Hearts Club regs? Was that one of the regs?
Yep, that was one of them. Did the Lonely Hearts Club, Bouncing Soul, Dakar Haze. What was the Strawberry Milk and Cookies? Strawberry Safari. Yeah. Maybe a couple others, so we'll see. I'm still in the planning phase. I haven't really posted anything up quite yet. I don't want to do too big of a drop just because I want this to be kind of small and nice and easy and good to go for the first one in the new year, but we'll see. I don't know. I tend to try to be a people pleaser, and somebody will ask for this and then that, and I just keep adding more and more stuff. I don't know. I've got the Gamathon and the Banner F4 ready to go at some point too. Waiting for the sign from Jay to do those. So they might be for the Easter drop, but we'll see.
Dude, that Brit banner, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been waiting for the return of it, and I've had them ready for a little while now, and it's just Jay's been so busy with all his stuff, and I don't want to just do it without him, but we'll see. Yeah, whenever he's ready, we'll get those going too.
Nice. The Master Bruce has I've been clicking onto Reddit a bit more often, and I've seen like the Master Bruce pop up a lot. There's a lot of love going for the Master Bruce.
I like that one a lot. I've been smoking on that. I got somewhere over here, a big bag of it. But I grew out a bunch of those, and they're all amazing. There's some green phenos and some purple phenos, and both of them are phenomenal.
Oh, cool. What's the lineage in the Master Bruce again? I'm spacing right now.
That's a banner to Blue Power.
Right on. Very
Yeah,
cool.
2 super frosty heavy hitters, and yeah, they definitely made absolutely gorgeous buds. I mean, they're just so photogenic, and they smoke as good as they look. So I'm super excited about
It's
that.
definitely like a stopper when you're flicking through and you're like, oh, fucking hell, what's that? Like, nice.
Even in the tent, it's just you can't stop looking at it. It's so gorgeous. Same for Time Machine. That thing is so good. It's just super old school funk to it. It's real gassy, real earthy, and just it's a heavy hitter, man. That's one that I've been enjoying a lot recently. And then same for Vegas Snow. That one kind of just cuts through everything else that I smoke. Like when I smoke that, it still just like hits me super hard. It's not the best bud structure. It's kind of airy, but everything is just completely caked out. And actually, that was when I had some sample buds left over, so I dropped off to the test spot recently, and that came back at 26% THC and 2.6 or 2.7% terp, something like that. And yeah, I was trying to figure. I was like, man, this one like it cuts through everything, no matter what I'm smoking. Like something about that one. I thought it was just my own personal like. I really love that Tyrone Stomper a lot. Thought I might have some bias on it, but I let a couple other people smoke it too, and they were like, "What the fuck? Like,
what the fuck is that?"
It's real nice.
So. You just touched on something that I'd love to the three of us chat about is bud structure, right? And this like almost obsession that everyone has within all sides of cannabis, I feel, is to have like rock hard, chunky buds that when you think about it probably came from fucking bizarre additives getting in there. But when I think about some of the best smokes I've had, especially energetic-wise, like the more narrow-leaning ones, caked in frost, but very like delicate, loose, almost like larvae flowers, but it's at the same height next to the light, all this kind of thing as my other plants. But it's still, even though like I know it not to be true, what is that about? It's there like, no, we want it rock hard, we want this, when it's like that's not necessarily the best smoke.
I think it's just marketing and just the way once everything went legal and people started going into stores are like, I just want these little boulders of nug, and that's
we want rock hard, frosty, high THC, and at the time they didn't give a fuck about terpenes. Nobody knew what the fuck they were talking about. And then of course, unfortunately, all that stuck. That's why it's skew the way it is today.
Yeah. I love freaky bud structures. I like foxtail-y stuff. I like the landrace stuff. Just goes crazy.
Yeah, foxtails are gorgeous. I've got one right now. She doesn't want to stop it, and she's still stacking out. And I love watching those foxtails come out. Years ago, I'll never forget this plant. Years ago, when I ordered my purple gems, I got Dynafem's California Blue hash plant. Fam. Never really grown a photo period from a seed bank. It had always been growing bag seed from wherever we were getting it from. I threw this thing in the ground, and it was the first photo period that had thrown foxtails for me, and it was absolutely stunning. And it was just these thick, massive buds, like clubs of these gorgeous stacked calyxes on top of each other. Especially when and we let it go to full maturity and all the pistils have proceeded. Like there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's like I think I love weird morphologies, like you said. Like I don't think it should be narrowed down into the rock hard things you're talking about.
Yeah. It's cool that people are like bringing back stuff like that, and finally the market's starting to self-correct where nobody wants, or some people want, but not everyone wants the same. This is a rock hard bud with some purple to it and super frosty. It's like, no, they're finally figuring out the diversity is like such a beautiful thing, especially in cannabis. Like there's so much more should be tried. And that's kind of where the seed collection, the hoarding started. Was just, there's so much I want to try.
Right. And that's what got me in this last summer, cracking into some of the older seeds that I knew that I was going to use or lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time I've gone through a hunt and I have ever found anything like this in my experience. And that's the beauty of all of it. It's just what comes next. What are you going to see next? Which seeds were once described to me as tiny treasure chests because we have no idea what we're going to get from the other end. I've seen a lot of bullshit over the years, a lot more bullshit than I've seen good. That's for sure. In my own stuff. I'm talking about like, cracking up seeds and things of that nature. But yeah, there's a beauty to the different morphologies, and I think you're right, Daz. I definitely think the market is starting to realize small small batch cannabis is key. I really think there will be a market for that in the future, if things play out okay.
Are you familiar with Jade Nectar Farms by chance on Instagram?
Maybe.
He's somewhere down in California, but he's just got this huge farm and grows nothing but different land races, just stuff that isn't going to finish on time and is made or is grown specifically for medicinal purposes and for like higher elevation stuff, not just the average. We're going to get this into, the dispensaries. He's doing it really with like some cool shit. But I swear, man, I'd love to just go and live on that guy's farm. Like, it's so amazing, all the different varieties he has and he's collected over the years. And it's super, super cool. He'll just take his guitar out and just play in the middle of the field, like electric guitar, bring an amp out, and just rock out there with all the plants. It's so nice. Hopefully someday he opens like a Airbnb or something where you can come and stay and check out the farm and smell all the different flowers and check it all out. Actually, I got some THC seeds from him recently. It was called like Free the V or something. So I'm looking forward to popping those and seeing how those are.
Free the V.
Yeah, that unique cannabis has always fascinated me. Leaf mutations, especially too. The different smells and stuff that can come out of it. I think that would be a cool dream, though, like an Airbnb style where people could come out and taste it. I think it was cool in California. I'm going to ADHD it a little bit here, but I got to experience that for the first time this past fall/winter in California. They actually had cafes where you could consume indoors, video games, had snacks. It was pretty dope. It was nice. I think that should be everywhere. I don't understand why it's not. I mean, if people can go to a bar and and I'm not comparing weed to alcohol, I'm comparing establishment and dispensing of two different mind-altering substances here in comparison. If I can go somewhere and buy a drink, why can't I go somewhere, sit down, and smoke a joint?
Yeah, New York is doing it right, man. I'm telling you, the clubs there, the places you can go in and smoke are just next level. It's so chill and so cool, and I don't know. I loved it, man. It reminded me of being in Spain or in Amsterdam.
I don't have those experiences, but
Columbus has that. They have a spot called Half Baked that's on High Street, and I ended up chatting to one of the guys involved, and it was the night of our legalization essentially, and the vote going through, and I was like, I couldn't believe they had rolling papers for sale, they had infused drinks, you could borrow the rolling trays and things. Like, how do you just have open consumption in the patio? I was like, what do you see when the cops come by? Oh, we just have to fuck off and prove it's not hemp. It's 2018 Farm Bill, fuck off. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's absolutely great. I think it normalizes and more folk do things like that. Like the Airbnb idea. When we stayed to see Krungbin at Red Rocks, we were in a place, I think was it in Morrison? But anyway, the little granny flat that we stayed in, they had bowls for us and everything. They had like papers ready and encouraged us to go to dispensaries. So here's our favourites, and then here's where we get the munchies at, and this kind of shit is great.
How amazing is Red Rock, dude? How amazing is that place? Like, just, I want to go back, obviously, but like, it's just phenomenal. What an experience!
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, it's really intense, cool. And like, I don't think it matters who the artist is. It just takes whoever you're there to see and just puts them at a whole different level.
Yeah,
it was a pretty dope fucking venue.
It was like a bucket list to go to that venue, and then it was our first time seeing Krungbin as well, and so it was just like, holy shit, this is just unreal.
That's how it was for me. It was my first time seeing Tyler Childers, and I wanted it to be at Red Rock. I'd never been to Red Rock, so it's like, we're going two for one here on this one. So that was fucking incredible. Like, it was amazing.
You were in Denver for a while, right, Daz? Did you go a couple of times or what?
Yeah. I saw Redman and Method Man there. I saw 311 there a couple times. One was their 25th anniversary tour, and it was like one of the best concerts I've ever. I mean, they just played every single song that I could have wanted to hear. I saw Flight of the Conchords there.
That had to be great.
Yeah, that was hilarious. It was amazing.
I bet that was fantastic.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's definitely rocked the show.
Sorry, who was that?
The Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, tight. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was good times.
I saw them at the Edinburgh Fringe just before the show came out. And so people were like calling for, I'd never heard of them. I just went with a friend to travel to New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were shouting out requests. And then all these songs, the ones that end up being on the TV show, like Hip Hopopotamus and that.
Yeah.
Man, they are so fucking fun.
It's so good. that was my introduction to them. And what's the one about the girlfriend in the fountain? That one, I can't. Like he's singing to her by the fountain. It's about it if you want to. I can't remember the name of the song.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's gonna disturb me, but oh my god, it was the second one I ever saw from those guys, and I was howling. I'm pretty sure it was in the office I was working into at the time.
Oh, they are great.
They're so good.
Jermaine's and like a lot of Disney stuff.
Well, I was gonna say, he's the turtle.
Yes.
He's the turtle in Moana. Shiny. Like that's.
That was my daughter's first Disney movie that she watched over and over, and fortunately, it's not. It's a pretty good one. Yeah,
you gotta check it out.
It's good. It's pretty humorous.
Yeah, I had a good time with that one. I do have a question for you, Daz.
Yeah,
I wrote this down the other day, and I wanted to see if you had ever done it. So, photo to auto, F1, get the offspring. Have you ever taken a female F1 and reversed it, like literally cloned it and selfed it?
No, but it's funny. I was talking about this on the podcast recently that I'm going to start trying that. I've just recently, within the past year, started to try projects photo to auto fully feminized. So instead of taking an auto male and hitting different photo period varieties, I reversed. But yeah, from there, and actually I was talking to In-House Genetics the other day, and he was like, I haven't really started this project because I just don't really know what to do with it, because I sent him some F1s that I made. Actually, I sent him pollen, and he made the F1s, and then was like just sitting on it. I was like, dude, just grow it out and pick your favorite female and then self it, and I'll grow the F2s out, and I'll pick the autos out of that. Or if you have two, cross reverse one and pollinate the other. But yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but that is on my to-do list. I've got set up to do it. I've got the stock to do it. It's just a matter of finishing up some other projects first. Yeah.
Time. Yeah, I was in here the other night because I've got couple new projects going where there are going to be some F1s that are going to be made. There will be some hybrids that are going to be made. And I was curious if it does speed up the process. It's something that just got in the back of my head. It's like if you're going to self it on there, you're reintroducing the genome back in. And we know S1s aren't true representations of the mother, but they're as genetically close as they can be. Because even in those S1s, we can see variable expression.
Mm-hmm.
But they're carrying that matching code, which would bring into what I was talking about the other night with the pickleberry triggering so early and having some kind of early flowering trigger in there with the auto making it, presenting the F1s, the auto flowering trait in the F1 offspring that year. So I'm curious if it'll kind of behave the same way and actually not skip a generation, but increase your percentages and cut them in half, whichever way you want to look at it.
Possibly. It's definitely, I've never had an auto and F1 and all the years and all the seeds I've popped of like the photo to auto generation, but I've heard other people say that they have as well. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if they had, if the photo they were using had some auto in it at some point, but I know Magic had the same thing with like something he got from Greenpoint Seeds a while ago, and he crossed it, and then the F1 generation he found some autos in it. So I just haven't seen it myself.
Well, right, and I'm not so much focused on that as I am wondering if, just like you said, maybe there has to be something. There's a genetic marker for sure in the photo period that's been used of some kind of early flower trigger to get F1s. I think with the number game, I think it has to be, because we both know that the auto is completely recessive. May it be Ruderalis that's in there? I don't know. They haven't sequenced all of this as far as I know. Yeah. I just find it interesting to see if it would behave in that same manner, as due to the fact it'll be a double marker on the second go around. Is it going to speed something up for you and increase your percentages of actual autoflowering in the next generation?
Jade Nectar Farms, who I was mentioning a little earlier, he was getting a bunch of Autoflowers in some of his stuff, but he kept saying, they're not full auto, but they will flower under 18 hours of light. So I was like, well, why don't I send you some pollen, and then if the next generation comes out completely Autoflower, you'll know these are Autoflowers. They're just coming out of the same seed stock that you have photos in. And I was like explaining to him, the F2 generation of certain stuff, and depending on how that's crossed, and if it's you cross a photo period with auto recessive back to like an auto dominant thing, you're going to get some photo periods still in there and some autos as well. So I was trying to explain it to him, but I think he thought I was being a dick when I was really just being inquisitive about it. You just can never tell online with just text-based things. So, but yeah, I've seen that a few places before of autoing in true photos.
Well, and that's the thing too. A lot, the breeding side of this is completely different. Most of the time when I'm talking on podcasts, the only topic, or not the only topic, but the only thing that's really brushed up on is the simple fact of like, you can't keep your genetics. Well, yeah, we know we can't keep the genetics. And that does make it difficult to do the selection process. But at the end of the day, it's still a numbers game. If you have the capacity and the room, you're going to eventually find, again, what you're looking for. It's just a matter of time and when. That's the other downside and fortunate part about breeding. I mean, I think it adds a complicated layer that a lot of photo guys who've been so focused on for many years forget about. Because they have the ease of access to just go right back to. Or go grab, or whereas we really don't. I'm not going to sit here and say autos can't be cloned because I've seen people clone them. I don't think it's a viable solution for keeping one for genetic purposes, personally.
I say reading autos is like writing a novel in the sand. You put all this time and energy and effort into it, and then a wave comes and wipes it all away at the end of the day. It's like you can't keep it. You can't hold on to it forever, and just got to write the next one.
Well, and that's the thing. You're exactly right. And you have to be willing to be persistent enough to take the time to find it. And there is a lot of that thought, like you were talking last time. Some of the 304 that I sent you had some long veggers. Well, they weren't fully auto yet. They were still in test phase, early F2s. But I knew you were going to get more autos than you typically would in a lot of F2s that I've done with like Deep Chunk. Like that True Indica, there was no F1s in my initial crosses with that out here on the farm. I didn't find them until I didn't find higher numbers in that shit until F3. Some of them are good about it, some of them are not. Some of them just wanted to keep that shit recessive. Even finding, earlier flowering phenotypes, both male, female, trying to express it out.
Have you kept any cuts of anything from photo to auto work? Like, do you keep any F1 or F2 photo periods that you really like and keep those around?
So it's funny you asked that. That's the next goal. So pigtailing on the whole finding these early triggering photo periods. This past summer, I had another experience with another cultivar that did that. And I made an F1 inadvertently because it flowered in the danger zone. Like I have my outdoor garden staged to where the male and any pollen is gone before the photo periods are even thinking about producing seed. I might get a few pre-flowers, but we're not going to get ruined flower. You know what I mean? Yeah. And not this guy. She was way ahead of everybody else in the group. Way like 3.5 weeks ahead of the group. So it got pretty heavily pollinated. And those are the next seeds coming out they're coming into the next cycle once the cup flowers are done.
Nice.
Once that stuff's done, I'm going to open those up and check it out and see it. Because I'd like to I sent a bunch to a buddy of mine in Missouri. He's got 40 acres out there. He's going to open up some of them, take a look and see what kind of behavior we got and see if we got anything special in there that he can cut. But I want to see what happens with that. I want to see if he can hold it. Because, I mean, ideally, if you keep it at above 15 hours, it should hold. But
that's something I've been wanting to experiment with myself. I find as I get older and I've kind of gotten in the groove of like actually doing the breeding stuff now, I'm like, man, I want to start experimenting a little bit more like I used to do. It's like for so long I was just focused on, all right, well, this is my next project and I have the goal set out and everything. It's like, well, let me kind of just freestyle here a little bit and see what I come up with. You were mentioning the leaf mutations and stuff. I've had an idea for a while and I've made a couple crosses. I want to do some ornamental autoflowers, like variegated ones, duck's foot ones, and have them. I think it was when Jeff Lowenfels was like, "Oh, tomato or autoflowers are going to be the next tomato, and your aunt's going to have it on her windowsill." I was like, "Well, I should try to make some pretty ones for that, like stuff that's super unique and stand out that way." So I've got a couple lines that I'd also want to work that are in that experimental box. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff and a lot of cool possibilities, and we're never going to run out of things to try or do. Like there's never going to be any shortage of cool stuff to do.
Yeah, and I agree with you. You know, I kind of took a look at that here recently and over the last couple of years and took a little bit of a step back because I too was just like this project, moving this for months is set for this, and it kind of caught up to me. It wasn't fun anymore. It just wasn't fun anymore, and I wanted to take, and I think we touched about this a little bit before we had to go the other day. But like, it's nice I had a bunch of stuff that I could come out with and just go with, but I like to take the time. It's been fun to do the experimenting and taking the long haul because when it's done, I'm going to be comfortable with what I'm releasing and confident. And the main things that I always stand behind, and it's been fun to just relax and watch. My camera hates me tonight, fellas. It's been fun to sit back and watch these last few projects come to fruition. Mm-hmm. I had mentioned earlier, I'm actually taking a swing at a photo period line, and not by a swing. I've been working on it for a few years. This camera, working on acquiring different things
over there.
What's that?
I said, I don't know who's head of IT over there.
No, I don't know either, but the guy sucks. But I'm not straying away from autos, but I've taken some time over the last couple of years and just watched what the market has demanded, seen what I've enjoyed from other growers from Washington, from Oregon, from now California, and hunted through a bunch of different packs of seeds and found and located some stuff that was different and unique and putting it together to see how it turns out over the last couple of years. And it's going to be fun. I'll have a couple F1s. The IBLs will be there too, but that's coming down the pipe. I want to do 2 of them. Nothing big, not a whole big a bunch of lines, like 1 male to 5 photo outcrosses, or maybe a 3 a maximum. I've dropped a couple fast flowering photo periods over the last couple of years, and they had a good reception. So I think it'll be fun to drop something like this. Just something to change it up every now and again. Something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've always felt like I was pigeonholed since I've been working with autos. I just think it'd be nice to have a little bit more variety to the catalog, something different and unique. Step outside the box a little bit.
I'm right there with you for sure. It's fun to experiment and do some photo stuff every once in a while too. I've got a bunch of old photo crosses that I've made years and years ago that I've never even delved into, that I think I'm going to start popping those here soon in the future too and see what's in them. So yeah, I definitely get it. There's a whole world of cannabis. I feel like we're dealing with half of it all the time. And, the photos, obviously we work from the photos, so we get those. But I don't know, just constantly keeping moms for the past couple of years has been a lot of fun. And like flowering them out when I want to and doing different tests and trying different pollinations with them was super cool. But I don't know, the autos are that's still where my heart's at and what's like the most fun to me. It's just, I don't know, the speed, just the growth, everything about them is so nice. But the ability to keep them on, there's definitely merit to it for sure.
Oh, 100%. And my love is never going to go away from the autos. I mean, I'm excited about this new round and this new hunt. I've seen something new come out that I have challenged myself to find because I wasn't really doing well at it in the past. And to see it come out again, it just renews a drive for that pheno hunt for everything for me, and it's nice to have that when it just your hard work shows up in the things and you can get excited about it again. There's no way to really describe the way it makes you feel. There's not, and like you said, the speed, I'm day 66, 52, and 46, and 65 is rounding the corner. Like we're close on 3 of these. I could technically pull them, but there's still a few pistols that could
Do you start your day count from like the first set of true leaves or from seed, or where do you start as far as day one?
I consider day one when it is properly opened and turned itself up to the light. It's alive at that point. It's starting to photosynthesize if it is green.
Yeah.
That's day one. Like you'll have crook necks for half a day, maybe 3/4 of the day. You'll walk back in, they'll be pointed up. But when they are pointed up, those catalins are open, and those you can see those little spikes, and that's day one.
Cool. Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. That's just where I've always counted it from. And I know a lot of people vary on that, but that's just where I've always counted my day one from.
Yeah, I feel like you're kind of out of the danger zone at that point as far as any damping off or any other like stuff that can mess up. Yeah, I know. I was thinking as I said that, I was like, well, had a few issues.
I've seen a few issues earlier too, but like it's just been from extremely moist soil or just from my own stupidity. It's not really been honestly like the genetic fault. It's just been me not paying attention.
Oh yeah, same here for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
My buddy Tutal was talking about just having a, if you have a wee deli cup or whatever over the top as a wee extra hydrodome, just pouring over the top of that, and so it'll pour around the rings. A good wee tip for folk to use it that way.
Yeah, I used to do that with the clear cups, and
clearly.
I read somebody was like, "Don't use domes. That's going to cause them to damp off." So after hearing that, I've just let them harden straight away and stopped using domes on seedlings.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, I have the dome to keep the surface, to keep the soil moist, up until the point that they turn and crack the soil and are moving up. If they've broke the soil, that taproot's way deeper than a lot of people realize, and it's in the water zone. You can get those domes off. I mean, you're exactly right. Your chances of harboring bacteria in that very tender amount of time is quick. If you got that dome on there for too long. And a lot of people, they need the high humidity. I can show you otherwise. Your VPD. I understand it's important, but like, I don't think there's this magic number that everybody can fit into. I think every plant deals with it differently. I've seen plants out in my green. Yeah, I've seen my camera. I've seen plants in the greenhouse. Golly. Take 125, leaf temperatures be at 115, ambient temperature be at 125. Not curling, no problem. It all depends on the plant. There's no way there's VPD going on at a good rate at that.
Yeah.
It's just that plant's not breathing.
Yeah, right.
But some survive it better than others.
Yeah, I've definitely found when I was messing about in our polytunnel this year up at the back, I just left some of them out there, and so they were dealing with still like extreme heat during the day and then really, really cold at night. And the fragrance was just, and there wasn't a great bud structure to it, as we were talking bud structure earlier on, but compared to the other ones. But the fragrance coming off it was great and super sticky as well. I couldn't go over how sticky they were outside, especially.
There's something with the UV, man. It's like the pink pistol theory I have too, that we've chatted about often. It exists. I think it's definitely a genetic marker. I've got it slightly indoor, but it doesn't come out like it does outside. I mean, when they are outside, when they're outside, they are hot pink. I think there's some, like, again, so I think resin definitely behaves differently. Morphology in flowers different outside than it is inside too. On the same cultivars. I'm very curious to see how this OG3 performs under artificial light compared to the resin production and what I fucking saw this summer. I've seen plants go from mediocre and excellent outside to phenomenal indoor, and I froze. And I've seen it go the other way too. So I'm hoping for something halfway decent.
And we decided to wrap things up shortly after that. Thank you all for watching or listening to the Dank Autoflower Ruderalis Enthusiast podcast, and we hope you'll check out the next episode. Take care. Slange. Peace.